Well, here's something I've never said in my entire life. Are you ready? All hail Carson Wentz? Let's get into this. Dolphins fans, thank you for coming and checking out my channel. I appreciate it. As always, um, like and subscribe, comment, share, whatever you got to do. And all of it helps, so I appreciate it. Um, got some housekeeping to cover here before we get into a couple things that I wanted to talk about for the two games that we really need to be following hardcore this week 18, tomorrow, Sunday. But before we get into those things, the injury report and stuff like that, now that it's all updated, I wanted to cover a couple small things here. Number one, let's talk about this Pro Bowl situation. Miami Dolphins are one of four teams to not receive any Pro Bowl selections for the starters. Um, it's the Jets, the Titans, the Saints, and the Dolphins are the four teams that did not receive any Pro Bowlers. Um, a couple things about this is there's some people that are up in arms and talking about, oh well, so and so got snubbed, so and so got snubbed, and there's really only one person on our team that got snubbed. I mean, could a few other players have received a vote for Pro Bowl selection? Sure. There's some players that could have made it, but they didn't. I wouldn't call it a snub. The only one that I would call a snub is Jonnu Smith. Now, he definitely got snubbed. Jonnu Smith was snubbed. He should be the starter or one of the two starters for the Pro Bowl. They usually have two tight ends that they rotate in and out as the two main players for that position in the Pro Bowl. Keep in mind, and when we talk about this, that for the voting, a third of the votes come from the coaches, a third of the votes come from the players, and a third of the votes come from fans. Now, it's a pretty balanced way to do it. It's a popularity contest because it's not. If it was about stats and positioning, then Johnny Smith would definitely be one of the Pro Bowl tight ends for the AFC. And I'm going to pull up a little stat here, and I want you guys to look at this, and it proves my point about Johnny Smith. So let's see here. Let me pull this up. There it is. That's your rankings for tight ends in the NFL this year. And those top four there's two NFCs and two AFC teams there, two AFC and NFC players. All four of those should be in the Pro Bowl. Johnny Smith is ranked 4, 830 yards, 7 touchdowns. I mean, he should be a Pro Bowler. Stats and ranking and everything else, if it was based on performance, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Smith would be a Pro Bowler. And in my mind, he's a Pro Bowler. So just wanted to share that really quick and say, there are other players. Zach Sealer should have probably been in the Pro Bowl, but I can see how he wouldn't have been. If you look at the stats and his performance, it's definitely great. He's a wonderful player. I love Zach Sealer to death. But I could see how he didn't make the Pro Bowl if you look at his stats. So really the only player that got officially 100% confirmed snubbed was Johnny Smith. So Johnny Smith, congratulations on a great season. You deserve to be a Pro Bowler, and you probably should be a second team All NFL player for this year for sure. So I covered that. A couple other things I wanted to talk about. There's been some rumors, and thank goodness, because I hope these rumors are true, that Chris Greer is going to most likely be let go at the end of the season or in the off season at some point. Now, I don't know how true it is. All I know is that Albert Breer of SportsIllustrated.com reported that there has been some murmurings in the front office of Miami Dolphins that Chris Greer is going to be let go this offseason. And if that happens, oh, thank you. Thank you. So exciting to see that. Well, okay. Is it exciting that someone is losing their job? No, I'm not excited for that part. Um, he'll be fine. He's, millions of dollars. He'll be just fine if Chris Greer gets let go. So I'm not saying that I'm happy that he's getting fired. I'm just glad that he might get let go from his position on our team because we need new blood in the GM position. We need somebody who's a more qualified GM, not a first-time GM, an experienced one. Someone who can build a team and build a proper base for a team. Because that's one of the issues we had. And I've gotten into that a bunch, so I'm not going to go crazy into it again and go off on a tangent about how we can't build a team. We'll talk about all that in the offseason. Right now, I just want to focus on that little rumor there that there is murmurings in the front office of Miami that Chris Greer is going to be let go. And one can only hope that that change is made because it needs to happen. Not to ruin Chris Greer's life and get him fired and, all that, but just because of for the team. It's the best decision for the team. You make that one change and that'll result in other changes. Things that'll make our team better. So, it's kind of interesting to hear that. I'm glad to hear it because it's not just the fans that way. It's not just us saying, oh, we need to fire Chris Greer. Obviously, that's something going on within the organization as well. So that's a good sign. And that's all we really can take it for right now. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into these two games that we need to talk about is the Dolphins' 2025 opponents list was released. And, some of this schedule that we have next year, they don't have the order of the games and the times and dates, but they do have the opponents that we'll be facing. And I'm going to pop this up and try not to, lose your breath because it's... Ooh. Okay. Now, we all know Patriots, Jets, and Bills twice, right? We know that. Home and away. The other 11 games, we have the Baltimore Ravens at home that we're playing at. These are our home games. The Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Washington Commanders, and the New Orleans Saints. We have 9 home games this year. We only had 8 this year. Or coming up, we have 9. We only had 8 this year. Of those 9 home games, 3 are against losing teams. So you kind of see something coming to a head here. All this talk about Dolphins can't win against good teams. Well, if that's true, and it is true, but if that continues into next season, we are cooked. The Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Bucks, and the Commanders. 6 of our 9 home games are against good teams. Miss me with the Bucks. The Bucks aren't a good team. Yes, they are a good team. The Bucks are a good team. Now, I do know also that there's parity in this league. And every year, teams that weren't good last year, there's going to be some that are good the next year. And there's going to be some teams that were good last year that are going to be bad the next year. So some of those games could be easier than we think right now. The Commanders could regress. The Ravens could finally crack. The Bills could have who knows? Who knows? But what I'm saying is looking at that home schedule, there's a lot of good teams that we're playing there. So the Dolphins either need to figure this out now, which means get a new GM, get some new blood on this team, get our team younger, get the offensive line fixed. If we don't do those things, we're cooked next year. You're looking at probably a 6-7 win season, max, unless we fix some things and figure out how to play against good teams. Now, for the road side, obviously, Bills, Patriots, Jets. And then we have the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Indianapolis Colts, again on the road, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Panthers. Now, this is weird because if you looked at the way teams are playing right now, our road schedule is much easier than our home schedule. It's strange. Not used to seeing that. So that's it. That's our opponents for next year. It's an interesting schedule. This is one of those agenda killers. Looking at this schedule next year, either we could kill some of these narratives, and I'm not saying narratives as in they're not true. I'm saying just it's the word that everybody uses. I'm going to use it. Narratives that we can't beat good teams. We can't win when it matters. With a schedule like that, the entire season matters. Every game. By the end of next season, looking at this schedule, by the end of the season next year, we'll know what we have on our team for sure. A lot of difficult games on the schedule next year. Hopefully, the Dolphins can figure some things out, and hopefully this works out well for us. I'd love nothing more than to have a schedule like this and come out with an 11-win, 12-win season. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Definitely possible. Anything's possible. You could go, 16-1. It's not likely. This is a difficult schedule, so we're going to keep our eye on this as they start figuring it out, the schedule and stuff, as we get into the off season. And I'm going to keep an eye on these teams too. There's not very many right now. Looking at the way the teams are, there's not very many winnable games for Miami on this schedule. So thank goodness this wasn't this year's schedule for Miami. Oh man, let's get that out of here. It's starting to make me kind of sad. There we go. That's better. I'm back. So that's the schedule. It's very tough, and we'll just have to work through that. The Chris Greer getting fired thing, that could greatly help, and I think people underestimate how important that's going to be in order to facilitate a successful season next year. We need to get somebody who can actually work this team out and make some tough decisions. And someone who's been here for 20 years total or something like that for Chris Greer in the office. Not necessarily GM for 20 years, obviously, but he's been with the Dolphins. Someone who's been around that long has made friends and has things that, maybe some people don't want him to know. And that's probably why he's still here, because it's obvious to every fan, more than likely obvious to everybody in that organization, that Chris Greer needs to go. So we'll see. Hopefully that happens. Let's talk about the Denver game. I titled this video as "The Dolphins fans put faith in the backups," and we know Tyler Huntley is going to be starting for Miami. But some Dolphins fans don't really understand the depth of the game between Denver and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. This game, so in order for the Miami to even make the playoffs, number one, we have to win our game against the Jets. Have to. If we don't beat the Jets, it doesn't matter. It's a moot point. But in order to win and in order to make the playoffs this year, Denver has to lose to the Chiefs, and we have to win our game. So if Denver has to lose to the Chiefs, let's talk about this game a little bit. Number one, the game is in Denver. It's in Denver, so Broncos are at home, the Mile High. It's not an easy place to play. Carson Wentz is starting for the Chiefs because the Chiefs have a lot of people sitting. The Chiefs won their first matchup against the Broncos this year. I think it was 16-14. They lost on a game-winning field goal miss by the Broncos. The Broncos missed a field goal. The Chiefs won. There are going to be mostly second-string players playing for the Chiefs. So out of the 22 starters for the Kansas City Chiefs on offense and defense, the 22 starters, 13 are going to be sitting. That means 9 of the Chiefs starters will play in this game. Now, there are a couple things that's interesting to me. DeAndre Hopkins is going to play for the Chiefs. I'm assuming he's got a bonus for he needs another touchdown. He's got a bonus that he needs to get, and he'll make some good money if he gets another touchdown. So Hopkins is going to play. Um, Carson Wentz, like I said, is starting for the Chiefs. And Carson Wentz, who's Carson Wentz again? He's the quarterback that played for the Eagles for a few years and played for the Washington Commanders. Now, Carson Wentz has started in the NFL. He's had good games. He's had some bad games, but he's not a terrible, terrible quarterback. He's a decent backup. He's capable, but he's going to have to play really well. So let's look at this list of starters that are out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Once again, these players are out. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman, Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie, Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, Kareem Hunt, George Karlaftis, Justin Reed, Drew Tranquil, Isaiah Pacheco, and Jawan Taylor. 13 of the starters out for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. Now, Andy Reid has said that he is coming up with a game plan to win. He wants to win. He wants to keep that 16. He wants to have that 16-1 record. He doesn't want any more losses. So I do believe that Andy Reid is going to be coaching this game to win, not to just get through. Not that he doesn't care. He does care. He wants to win this game. So that's encouraging. I did watch his interview and his conference and stuff talking about it. He is going to be low on his starters, but he is trying to develop a game plan to come out with the win, which is what you want. I mean, do they have a lot to play for? No, they've already locked up the number one seed in the AFC East or AFC, and there's not anything really for them to play for other than for the pride. If they don't want to lose to a division rival in the Denver Broncos, they don't. They want to sweep the Broncos. Andy Reid wants to come up with a good game plan, and that's where they're at. They want to win for pride. They don't want any more than one loss this year. So that's where we're at with that game. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be checking in on the score and looking at highlights and stuff during the live stream tomorrow. But I'll be watching the Dolphins game predominantly. I can't not. I have to watch the Dolphins game. So that's where we're at. Let's talk about this Dolphins game for a few minutes here before I get out of here. Injuries. Anthony Walker is out. Tua is going to be out. It's still listed as questionable, but he's out. And I want to say a couple things because there's a lot of people all over the internet about Tua. And, okay, I am critical of Tua. I'm not a Tua lover. I'm not a Tua hater either. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. There's a lot of fans, and I'm going to go ahead and throw up the quotation marks because sometimes I feel like people let their hate for certain players get in the way of their fandom. And what I mean by that is you should want Tua to succeed whether you like him or not. I don't like Tua as the savior of our team. I don't think he's that. I think he's a good quarterback. He's not generational. He's not going to take us, to 4, 5, 6 Super Bowls in a row. I'm not saying any of that. But he's a good quarterback. And I will say one thing about Tua is his drive to play and his toughness is not in question. However, he is injury prone. And in this situation, we have Tua with a bad hip injury. But if you've watched his press conferences and you've listened to him for years like I have, he is not wanting to be out of this game. He has not made that decision. It's not his call. It was a team medical decision, which means they told Tua, you're sitting. Tua is out because the team told him he was. It is not his decision. If it was his decision, he even said it, I would play. He's insanely frustrated about it. So all these people that are running around on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else talking about how Tua is a piece of crap because he's not going to play during this game, it's not his call. So miss me with that. Miss all of us with that. It's stupid. All it does is make you, the one who is saying things like that and implying that this was Tua's decision, it makes you look stupid. So instead of saying things like that are inflammatory, you can dislike Tua. That's fine. It's whatever you want to do. I don't think he's the perfect quarterback either. But I'm not going to sit there and insult the man and make it sound like he's just a piece of crap because he doesn't want to play. That's not what this is, guys. This is the fact that it's an injury. And the other thing is people saying, oh, it's just a hip injury. We got a sore hip and he's not going to play. Have you ever had a bruised hip? A serious bruise on your hip? Or have you ever pulled a hip muscle, like a hip flexor? You ever torn one of those before? It's not the kind of injury that you can just walk off. It limits so many motions you would not believe. You can't lift your arm without your hip flexor moving a little bit. You can't turn your body. What's the motion that quarterbacks always do? They go back and they turn at their hips as they throw the ball. Where does your power come from as a quarterback when you throw the ball? From your hips. It's in the hips. That's where all the motion comes from. When you go to move, when you break stride, when you change directions, everything comes from your hips. So stop with the inflammatory comments that insult people for no reason. This is not a decision Tua made. He doesn't want to miss this game, believe me. But he's being forced to because in the situation we're in with our crap offensive line, he has to be able to try to evade and get away and make sidesteps and move forward in the pocket and escape. He has to. He does it every game. And in the evaluation of Tua with this injury during practice, the team has decided he just can't do it yet. They said he's getting better, but he cannot escape pressure. He can't protect himself. All you haters always say, well, he's so injured. He's always injured all the time. Then do you want to put him out there when he's injured? Do you want to put him out there when he can't escape and minimize risk to himself? It doesn't make any sense. So stop with it. Stop with it. Just stop the cap, as the cool kids say. It's dumb. No. Tua is out, like I said. Doesn't want to be out. He wants to play. He's frustrated. But it was a team medical decision. Moving on. Jordan Poyer will play. Say what you want about Jordan Poyer. I know sometimes it seems like he's just not. I mean, he's not. He's not what he used to be. But even with the couple plays that he misses on a game, every game it seems like, he makes a lot of tackles. He does make a lot of tackles, and he fits well with the defense. So Jordan Poyer will play. Jalen Waddle is back. That's going to be huge for Snoop Huntley. Jalen Waddle will be playing, and that's going to be great news for Snoop Huntley. One of his main weapons will be there, and Snoop can take advantage of that, definitely. Teron Armstead's 50-50, like I said in the beginning of the week. They're going to make that decision Sunday morning right before the game. I'll be shocked if he plays. I don't think he's going to play, but if he does, that'd be great, especially if he can actually handle it. Kendall Lamb is on IR with a back issue. He blew a disc in his lower back, and he's out. He had surgery. It went well. He's recovering. He's doing fine, but he did have to have that disc taken care of. And as somebody who's, exploded 4 of his discs in his lower back, I feel for Kendall Lamb. I hope he's okay, and best of luck in recovery, buddy, because my back injuries ruined my career. So hopefully he does better than I did with it. He is older. He was talking about retiring anyway, and I just, for lifestyle, not necessarily just for playing. Having back injury like that can mess up a lot of stuff for a long time. So hopefully he does okay there. Get better, Mr. Kendall Lamb. Now let's talk about the Jets. This is going to help Miami. Sauce Gardner's out. Okay. This is the big one. There's two names on this list that are out for the Jets that have got me feeling encouraged. What's the worst part of our team right now? If you said anything other than offensive line, you're dense. It's that simple. Our offensive line is the worst part of our team. So, if our offensive line is the worst part of our team, what position being out would help us the most? Defensive end, defensive tackle. If you said anything else, you're kind of dense because that's where we need the help. So, Quinnen Williams and Leki Fotu, both defensive tackles for the Jets, are doubtful and did not practice all week. Coming out of Jets camp, Quinnen Williams is not going to play. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if that changes. But for right now, they're saying Quinnen Williams and Leki Fotu will not be playing in this game, which will be huge for Miami. Morgan Moses, their offensive lineman, he's doubtful. Didn't practice all week as well. So I only listed the ones that are listed as doubtful and did not practice all week. Quinnen Williams, Morgan Moses, Leki Fotu, all in that category. Sauce Gardner has been out, and he's out again. So that's just the way that is. That's the injury report as of right now, and that's where we stand in this game. The main thing that needs to happen here is Miami. It's not going to be a defense issue. Our defense is okay. Anthony Weaver spoke about the last game against the Jets and how he was very frustrated. And ever since that game was over, he's had this game. Even though the Dolphins won that game, he's had this game against the Jets marked on his calendar with a big red X because it's a chance for him to make right the things that happened in the first game. I hope that the team has that same mentality that Anthony Weaver does. Hopefully Anthony Weaver has conveyed that attitude to his team, to his defense. Hey, we let stupid Aaron Rodgers have the best game of the year that he's had against us. This time, it can't happen. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. Hopefully he's conveyed that to him, and hopefully they don't let it happen again. It's a big game. It's the biggest must-win game of the year for Miami. And we've had must-win games for the last 3 or 4 weeks. This is the biggest one. Have to win it. Playoffs or not, we have to win this game. Cannot finish the season at 8-9. If we finish the season at 8-9, there's going to be some clamoring for a whole lot more than Chris Greer's job. Right now, I think that's the biggest, most important change. But if we lose this game and end the season on a bad note, there's going to be more things added to that list for me personally that are going to need to happen. 9-8, I want to start with Chris Greer getting fired. 8-9, whole lot more needs to happen. And we'll get into all that if it happens, when it happens, whatever. I still think the Denver Broncos are going to lose. And I think the Miami Dolphins are going to win this week. And I think Miami is going to sneak into the 7th seed. And then I think we're going to go into Denver. And I think we're going to lose to the Buffalo Bills in Denver. I think we're going to lose to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo in week 1 of the playoffs. Will I be rooting for us to lose? No. Never. I always root for us to win. I remain hopeful. Thank you for watching this channel. Thank you for checking out the video. Give it a like and subscribe. Tomorrow, as always, I go to church in the morning. I will come back home. I will catch up on the first quarter. I will watch the second quarter, get a feel for the game, and then I will start my live stream at the beginning of the second half. And I hope to see all you guys there with me, and give it a watch. Talk to me while we're doing it. Thank you. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll see you tomorrow during the second half of the game. Fins up and stay hopeful.